I think any spiritual teaching is most wisely used sort of as a means of contemplation. That we realize that the most direct teaching and the foundation of one's spiritual life really needs to be grounded in silence. Because it's in silence that our awareness starts to go deeper than simply the conceptual level of consciousness. If there's never silence, it's very easy for our awareness never to go deeper than the conceptual realm. And, there are many, many beautiful and profound teachings, and yet they are still representations. The way we access what they're pointing to is to allow them to point you into that quietness of being. Then those teachings kind of can germinate almost as seeds in your consciousness. But you're taking some time to really nourish the seeds of a teaching. And the way we nourish the seeds of the teaching is in quietness, is in the willingness to be quiet, to be still. Otherwise, really, at the end of the day, all we have is a bunch of fancy spiritual concepts. And those concepts are not the truth. They may be, they may not be, they may be useful aids in helping you come upon the truth, to experience it in the depths of your being, in the silence of your being. But it's difficult for them to do that as long as we're not being still, being quiet enough. If you're not having any time with stillness, then eventually you get kind of jaded. You get kind of cynical. You've heard all these teachings and they all start to sound very similar, and yet they're all not doing anything for you. And and you just start to get a kind of cynicism, like they're not helping me out, and is it all just a bunch of fancy talk or writing or whatever, But if we base our spiritual lives in essentially ideas, we're setting ourselves up in a way for dissatisfaction. As I said, those ideas can germinate in you when you have a resource of stillness and quiet within inside. This is what allows attention to dip far, far below the conceptual realm, the realm of representation. As we go into the depth of our being, nakedly meaning naked of concept, naked of idea. Let the words point you in the direction, or contemplate them. You can hold them in your mind, but as you hold them in your mind and you just sort of hold them, and as you just hold them, a kind of quietness will come upon you just through holding them. Not consuming more and more and more and more and more. That just gives you spiritual indigestion. But just holding something that resonates for you, holding it in your consciousness for a moment, and meeting the teaching that resonates for you, meeting it with the silence of your being. And also letting go of the idea so you can really be taken by that inner quiet. Because that's where the greatest power is. Then the teachings, when the teaching is combined with quiet, it's like both the quiet and the teaching come alive. They are much more powerful when combined, as either one of them are when individually. Sometimes if you're just meditating, there's not the kind of dynamic energy, or you're not being challenged. Some of your ideas and beliefs and opinions aren't being challenged, and because there can be, to have them challenged is what can kind of break through some very hardened patterns of being. So sometimes we need a teaching that helps us, that combines with the stillness to help us kind of break through old conditioned ways. Same thing with ingesting a teaching, the conceptual form of it is when it's combined with it, when it's divorced from any willingness to be quiet and be still, all you've really got is a spiritual philosophy. Is a bunch of ideas. They may be nice ideas, but it's only when they're combined with a quietness that those ideas then become almost like seeds in your consciousness. And something begins to work underneath the conscious level. And then the teachings can be can take root in a powerful way. Because, the idea of a spiritual teaching isn't that you end up worshiping the teaching. The idea is that you come to the revelation. And the revelation is what truth is.